had to say. And he has questioned the advocacy role of the Ghana Bar Association, the GBA, in recent times, accusing it of selectivity. Let's talk about this in some more detail. I've got on the telephone lines with me at the moment Engineer Theophilus Kojo Jimega, and he is a private legal practitioner. Engineer, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Although in this capacity, I should say counsel. Counsel, good morning. Hope you're well.
I'm fine, thank you. And I hope your listeners are fine too.
We're all doing well on this glorious Tuesday morning. We're taking a look at what happened yesterday at the event. That's the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, spoke at, where he was questioning the advocacy role of the Ghana Bar Association. Now, I'm sure you're not surprised that yesterday's interaction has got a lot of tongues wagging, especially where the Attorney General says that there's some selectivity, or at least some perceived selectivity, on the part of the Ghana Bar Association. My first question then is, do you agree with the Attorney General that the Ghana Bar Association hasn't been consistent in defending the rule of law?
Good morning again to your listeners. And if you listen to a number of guys who spoke when Johnny was on the Johnny Bites, you will pick the information that a lot of people were concerned. However, let me be clear to say that the GBA is an association. The Ghana Bar Association used to be a voice that when they speak, everybody shivers those days. But things are changing. And also, let me tell some of your listeners that we have lawyers in search of democracy. We have the NDC lawyers that have branded themselves so nicely that people associate themselves with. Now, indeed, when we met in Ho in 2023 or 2022, Justice Doche, then representing the Chief Justice, and he was the acting Chief Justice, made the point that the bar had been silent and that they should begin to talk. They should talk as people know them. So if it was coming from a judge of such a caliber at that time, it means it was an issue. Then, of course, it has all been that the Bar Association appeared to be people who are remnants of the UP tradition. And there were stories that those days before you become a lawyer, they ask you whether your father is a lawyer or your father is a judge. And majority of them were of the UP tradition. So it is not surprising that these things were mentioned, and a great number of your listeners and people who called in were also worried about the apparent biased nature of the bar, of the Ghana Bar Association. Suffice it to say that if you listen to Efwagati, the GBA president, I'm a GBA member, I'm a member in good standing. That means I've paid my dues, etc.
Right.
She mentioned the fact that there was a resolution from the Ghana Bar Association. I was scandalized to hear that. I thought she shouldn't have gone there because that resolution alone generated a number of bashing for GBA. So she should have gone along that line. But all in all, I think the Attorney General hit the nail right in the head to say that GBA has been selective. Indeed, when President Mahama, then a candidate, engaged GBA as a candidate, he asked them, and the 24th Esquire, my senior, who was the president then, said, oh, we're talking. But you see, there was the Ashama brutality. GBA was quiet. There was a murder in Techima during election. GBA was quiet. I don't want to even go to the Charlotte to say and Vivian Lamte one. There were a number of things that happened, and GBA was quiet. Those were the ones that people expected that they would talk about.
So, in your view, you say that given the Bar Association's history of public interventions, they have rather been biased but not balanced.
I won't use the word even balance. I think they have been picky. They pick and choose when they need to talk. And it has not really helped members. You see, when Neil Samuels was the president of GBA and visited Chachu Chikata or made a comment when Chachu Chikata was incarcerated, members gang up and took him out. They took him out as the president of the association. And that was something that will make a number of people who were aligned to NDC would have been like, whoa, let's be quiet, let's quarrel a bit. But that is not same today. So things like that has forced others to form associations like the Law Society of Ghana, which Honorable Daframepo Nelson is leading. There was the WABRU, also Ghana Bar, or Ghana Association of Bar, or Ghana Bar, something like that, not GBA.
Right.
Bar Association of Ghana, yes, Bar Association of Ghana. So it is because of this selectivity and things like that that is forming others to say, let us have other associations to rival GBA. And remember, freedom of association is enshrined in our constitution.
That's right.
So I won't say they have been biased. I said they are beyond bias.
That's quite scathing, though, wouldn't you say, Counsel? Beyond bias, because a question that I've monitored sort of on social media and beyond is that, well, does the Bar Association have a responsibility to speak on all legal and constitutional matters? Do they reserve the right to speak up on some and not others? What do you make of that question? Is that not in good taste?
No. If you listen to the president, he talked about the fact that they have a duty to protect the sanctity of the Constitution and sanctity of the democratic process. So why do you have to be choosing if the things are unconstitutional or the things are undemocratic and they will go against the tenets of democracy that we know? Why then do you have to be quiet? But let's not, I don't want to use the word gaslight, let's not help them this way.
Right.
They've been quiet when NDC is in power. I'm surprised Johnny even said that when some political party is in power, when the other one is not in power. Let's go straight. When NDC is in power, they are quiet. They are loud. When MPP is in power, they are quiet. It's been something we know. So let's not pretend. But what I'm trying to tell you is that I don't want to dwell so much on the examples the the Attorney General gave. I gave you two examples. Right. There were brutalities in Ashama. You remember?
Of course.
Yes. There was the Techima episode where 8 people were gunned down. You remember?
That's right.
And there are host others that you can talk about. But they were quiet. So how then do they find their voice as soon as NDC comes to power? Then let's take the removed Chief Justice issue.
Right.
Then they were talking about unconstitutional. Yesterday, if you peruse the speech by the president carefully, she's now talking about unfairness.
In fact, there was something she mentioned that piqued my interest. She said the sketchy process. That was, I think, something that I picked up from the speech that she made. And I wish there was a chance to critique that further. What did you make of that? Because this is a process enshrined in our Constitution, but she made reference to it being a sketchy process. How did that go down for you, or go down with you?
You see, I've listened to GBA and the likes who think about the GBA when they issued a statement talking about the fact that because the president will exhibit or exercise discretionary power per Article 296, he has to publish an LI to show how he was going to use the discretionary power. If they are talking just about the discretionary power, I will agree with them. But if they are talking about the whole process, the whole Article 146 is a process.
Right.
You cannot enact an LI which is lower than the Constitution, subservient to the Constitution, to override what the Constitution has prescribed. I hope I'm making sense to you.
Absolutely.
So, if you want to prescribe an airline, promulgate an airline now, the airline will just mirror what is in the Constitution. It can't do anything beyond what the Constitution states. Now, if we are talking about just the discretionary power, the usage of the discretionary power, it's just one part where it says that the president may suspend and the president may revoke the suspension. If that is all that they need the LI for, then we can talk about that. But there were decided cases that says that the president or the executive exercise a lot of discretionary powers daily. So for them to be going back and getting the LI every time will not be possible. Then my president talks about the fact that from the time they issued their communique, no LI was promulgated. The train was already in motion. They couldn't have stopped the train and say, hold on, GBA says let's go for promulgation of LI. So until we get the LI done, we cannot have the process ongoing. Can you imagine the crisis we'll be in? So that statement from her, with all respect to her, is neither here nor there. It couldn't have happened.
Right. Now, let's go back to yesterday again and what the Attorney General had to say. What precedent do you see this public critique setting for the relationship between the executive and the legal profession? By that I mean, do you foresee any sort of tension between the executive and not even just the legal profession? Let me narrow it down to the Ghana Bar Association.
You see, the Ghana Bar Association has NDC members.
That's right.
So I don't foresee anything. That's number one. Number two,
right.
The Attorney General is the leader of the bar. And when you go to the Legal Profession Act, there are certain things that the Attorney General will tell the General Legal Counsel, and they have to listen. Or let me use the word, the street word, they have to obey.
Right.
So I don't foresee any rift over there. In any case, the Ghana Bar Association is an association. It's a private organization. It's only that it's like the way you have Amnesty International.
Right.
Amnesty International is not a country, but because they have advocated on a number of things for a while, their respect is given to their voice.
Indeed.
Or Oxfam or any of them. So that's how GBA is. But so GBA cannot hold all lawyers to ransom. Indeed, the executive, they know that they have NDC members and they have MPP members. So they need to balance their act. So I don't see any friction over there.
Right.
Indeed, there are certain positions that have been given to statutorily to the bar, to the Ghana Bar Association, that will have to go to the executive for those appointments. So that cannot happen. And they meet at the General Legal Counsel, Judicial Council, etc. So the best way for development for both the executive and Ghana Bar Association is for Giorgio. In any case, the other thing that happens is that we have things called friendly banter.
Okay.
You see lawyers banter publicly and even in court. But when the court is on recess, they go and buy fufu or banku together and eat. And I mean, it is what the profession calls for.
Now, do you think the Attorney General's comments will lead to some genuine reforms within the bar so that moving forward we'll see a balanced critique or a balanced, shall I say, voice when it comes to all issues?
You see, the difficulty is I've already started reading in certain quarters that they were not talking and people complain. Now they began talking and people are complaining. So it is you are damn where you do it, you are damn where you don't do it. So they have to choose carefully and they have to shed that image of only talking when NDC is in power. And they have to find a way of going around it. Otherwise, this thing will follow them for a long time.
Now, what message then do you think moving forward the association should convey to both members and the Ghanaian public in the aftermath of this conference?
Well, this is the first conference being held in the era of the current president. So she has a huge, let me say, goodwill to the Ghanaians know that I am a new president. Admit that they were quiet when when MPP was in government, but now we are going to talk and we'll continue talking and will not be selective. That will be a huge relief for members of the public and members of the association.
Certainly. Thank you so much for your time this morning, for giving your expert opinion on this particular conversation. We watch and see how it unfolds and what the rest of the fallout is going to be looking like. Thank you once again. And we were speaking there with engineer Theophilus Kojo Jimega Jr., and he's a private legal practitioner. He says he's also a member of the GBA in good standing. Let's also now speak with another private legal practitioner. Austin Bracco Powers is on the line. Austin, hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ellen. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How is your morning going so far?
Oh, we are just doing well. I hope you are doing well.
Small. We're hanging in there. We are just dissecting what happened yesterday at the conference where the Attorney General spoke and had some critique of the Ghana Bar Association as a whole. Let me take your overall reaction to the Attorney General's address.
Yes, I think, Helen, literally, the Attorney General is right in calling out the Ghana Bar Association over its silence, or rather loud silence, during two major constitutional events. So one, we're talking about the removal of Loretta Lampe as Strach boss in 2015, and the removal of Charlotte Osei and her deputies from the Electoral Commission in 2018. But, Helen, these removals, however, occurred at two different administrations, President Mohammed's first term and President Akufo-Addo's first term. So, you would notice that it didn't take place only under one political party. So for this reason, if the GBA is now speaking out, it will be unfair, even mischievous, to say or to accuse it of political or partisan bias, given that its silence cuts across both governments in the past. And I made reference to President Mohammed's first term and President Akufo-Addo's first term. What is fair, Colin, is that the Attorney General's point of selective advocacy in constitutional matters. The record shows that the GBA remained conspicuously quiet under Mahama during Loretta Lampe's removal, and equally silent under Akufo-Addo during Charlotte Osei's removal. That said,
Austin, not to slight tackle you there, but the similarity in those two scenarios does that have anything to do with the fact that these individuals, the two ladies in questions, were appointees of John Dramani Mahama, if that makes sense, if I'm correct, actually?
Yes, no. So the thing is that Charlotte Osei was appointed by President Mahama, and Loretta Lampe too equally was also appointed by the NDC government.
So there's that parallel there. So even though you've got them happening over two different regimes, that is the similarity that I see there. You still don't smell anything fishy?
Is it? Ellen, I have pointed out that beyond the surface, let's interrogate the regime change or the advocacy of the Ghana Bar Association during the two regimes.
Right.
I think if we drill down to those who appointed the people, then we are muddying the waters altogether. I think, Ellen, beyond the condemnation, the GBA deserves commendation for rediscovering its voice. In the past, its bold strategic advocacy earned the reputation as a champion of Ghana's return to constitutional rule. And all of us, even your listeners, we can all attest to the role GBA played during the military regimes and how they help in ushering Ghana into a democratic regime. So today, more than ever, we need GBA at its best. Its activism should be welcome. And I think the Attorney General should applaud or laud the current leadership and encourage them to stay alive to the task of defending constitutional governance and helping President Mahama and his administration steer the nation well. So I think in one score, I agree with the Attorney General, but to accuse the GBA of being partisan, I think that is below the best, because we are to critically and surgically analyze GBA silence during the two regimes. You will notice that it had nothing to do with partisan or political bias, but rather it has to do with selective advocacy on constitutional matters. And on that level, I agree with the Attorney General, but not on the bit about the partisan or political bias.
Now, how important is perceived neutrality for the Bar Association in Ghana's political context? I'm sure you've also monitored some of the commentary post the conference. And I'll be honest, Austin, it's not looking good for the Ghana Bar Association. This perception seems to now more than ever be deeply ingrained in the minds of everyday Ghanaians.
I agree with you. Perception matters. You know, particularly when it comes to issues about bias and corruption. Usually, the perception itself, what people perceive is usually what normally tends to be the reality. But be that as it may, I think we I believe that the Ghana Bar Association has not done a good work in the past, let's say, maybe the past decade or two. But I would rather welcome an institution that has rediscovered its voice rather than maybe chide it or berate it for not doing a better job in the past. You know, the past is gone. As the motivation let us know. The past is gone. It's dead. Now we have the future ahead of us. So I think we should now be more prospective. Let's look at what the GBA has started to do and encourage the GBA to be more, to strengthen its voice and make sure that its voice is heard on serious constitutional matters. By Helen, we must not invite the GBA to interfere or intervene in anything constitutional, because when we do that, then we are inviting them into a pedestrian argument or pedestrian fight. The GBA must select and decide on matters that are weightier, matters that impact the well-being of Ghanaians. On those matters, Ghanaians will welcome them and move with them. But I think, Helen, for me, I'm happy that GBA has found its voice. And that, for me, gladdens my heart. Beyond their silence in the past, I think we can forgive them and welcome them, because in the end, we need key and strategic institutions to be very strong, so that they defend the bargain against particularly the application of state power. You know, in the past days, we've had a demonstration or showcase of state power, real state power by the police and even Yoko in the past. So we need a GBA and well-meaning institutions to vanguard or safeguard the constitutional rights and freedoms of individuals in the society.
Long may that continue. Now, how do you see such public critique from top officials, in this instance the Attorney General, affecting the morale and unity of legal practitioners?
I mean, you know, the Attorney General is the leader of the bar. So he's our leader. He's my leader. I respect him. So he has a good voice. And he's in a strategic position to drive reforms in the legal, in areas of legal education and even attitude at the bar. Yes, he's in a strategic position. So whatever he says, one is driven by his desire to reform when it comes to the legal community. On the other hand, he's a politician. So conference.
Apologies, Austin. We're losing you a little bit. The line is not too stable. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, it's better now. Let's hear you, please.
So I was just saying that the commentary by the Attorney General is significantly different from what we're hearing from members of the National Democratic Congress. We've there's several key functionaries of the NDC make the same commentary about the DPA. So I think it is more like he had a better platform to echo what his party has been thinking.
So you would say that there were significant political undertones then coming from the Attorney General?
Very, very. Because first, he's a politician. Second, he's a leader of the bar. So at that moment when he spoke, you realize that the politics took a better part of him, and he had to subjugate the legal part of him. So I heard him speak, and I heard, from his voice, I heard members or key functionaries of the National Democratic Congress. I heard their voices through his voice, because this has been the line by National Democratic Congress members since the removal of the process began for the removal of the chief. They have always been saying that we're not quiet during the Charlotte regime, we're not quiet during the process regime. So that Attorney General rather use this platform to echo what his party and his party, which is in government, has been saying from day one or from the word go. So it didn't come to me as a surprise. I knew it would crop up. And I wasn't surprised at it.
Austin, is it safe to say that maybe you were scandalized? That's what I'm picking from what you're saying this morning. Were you scandalized?
No. Ellen, to say that I expected the Attorney General to say something different would be the list of commentaries I would rather pass. Because I expected him to be political on that platform. don't forget that prior to the conference, some of his members have been saying that the GBA did not invite. They even said the GBA did not invite the president, and that during the past regime, the GBA had been inviting President Fuad. But when it comes to Mahama, they don't be inviting him, and they are inviting people from outside. So you realize that from the beginning, they have this antagonistic attack, against the GBA, and it didn't start from the Attorney General. So when he had opportunity and he unleashed the very venom that his own people have been, pouring out in the media, I wasn't surprised.
But Austin, it sounds as though you believe that there really is no basis for this. You don't assess the situation in that way. That even that members of the general public read political undertones from the GBA's what the Attorney General called selective advocacy. Do you say that you don't read those undertones on the side of the GBA at all?
There's no basis for the Attorney General's comments. There's no basis.
There's no basis.
There's no basis, and I pointed out to you that there's no basis, because when you accuse the GBA of being partisan by being a partisan of politically or engaging in partisan or political bias, there's no evidence. The evidence, as I told you, when you look at Lorelante and Charlotte Sunua, it has nothing to do with partisan. If the GBA chose to be quiet during the period, it's nothing to be partisan. Maybe selective advocacy would suffice, but to say partisan and use that power of child and GBA and the leadership to get back with their duties, I think it is below the belt. Attorney General was supposed to have used that platform to unify the legal fraternity, the community, so that we will help the president. Because currently, Helen, there are a lot of issues that this government is losing sight of. The Galamsey, we are losing the war. We have a lot of, we have legal regime to drive reforms and make sure that our water bodies are clean, our environment are sanitized, and those who are engaged in real-time Galamsey are arrested. We are not seeing any of them. We use the platform and condemn the legal fraternity. It is an opportunity. Ellen, and let me be frank.
Yes, be frank with me, Austin.
Ellen, the agenda is to undermine the GBA, and that is what I know. The national.
What is the what do lawyers say? Motive. What would be the motive then to undermine the GBA if there are members from the NDC as well as members of the NPP? What do you read as the motive?
No, so I mean, some NDC members, even before they created the NDC, their legal department.
Right.
The idea was to create a power institution that will rival the GBA. And for them, they believe the GBA are not being fair to the NDC. The idea is to create a power organization, a power legal community to wrestle the political, let me say, the community democracy powers with the GBA. And that's what they are trying to do. But it won't help. The thing is that we have a Ghana Power Association. Let's not rally behind the Ghana Power Association. If it's not better, let's make it better. If they are saying that the leadership are not doing right, it is the members will the right and the power to drive reforms in the GBA, but to create a power institution to rival the GBA, I don't think it's a laudable concept. So I'm not surprised, like I said, pointed out earlier, the Attorney General, I expected him, in fact, to use that platform to drive home and to in fact, echo what the Speaker Party has been saying from the web, and he used the opportunity well to his advantage. But for me, I think it was below the belt. He should have. I was expecting to have done that than what he did.
Austin, thank you for your time this morning. I would call this a true impasse because depending on who you speak to, the positions are deeply entrenched. But actually, before I let you go, what is your hope then for the Bar Association's trajectory post this conference, given the critique by the Attorney General?
So, Ellen, two things. I want the Bar Association to be very tough, particularly on this government. Very tough. And tough in the sense that let's not give room for political maneuvers, whereby in the end, Ghanaians, the rights of Ghanaians would be trampled upon. 2, the GBA must revive its advocacy, its legal advocacy, and its legal fraternity. And that will be our direction. Let's not rally behind the Ghana Power Association. Let's make it better. So, activities, particularly going to court. There are certain things we need to challenge. Currently, the president had an agreement with the U.S. to accept some deportees.
That's right. We're told a number of them from Nigeria are headed home or have head home. That's right.
Exactly. And it's unconstitutional because the Supreme Court has earlier in 2017 made it clear that any such agreement must be ratified by Parliament.
By Parliament, that's right.
But the president knows and the government knows, and now they are beating a U-turn. They are telling us that it was just an MOU. It was just an MOU, and that cannot be equated to an agreement that comes under the interpretation of the Constitution or the constitutional provision. So you see, they are trying to find a clever way. So the GPA must be allowed to interact. The leadership must be consistent. Let us not be selective on the kind of constitutional issues we dabble in, but we must be selective only on weightier matters that are impact or have issues or have consequences for constitutional freedoms and rights of Ghanaians.
Certainly, Austin, always grateful for your time and your expertise on these issues. Wishing you a wonderful Tuesday. Indeed, Austin Bracco Powers is private legal practitioner, no stranger to our platform. 24 after 9 as the time reads. Let's pause now for a quick break. When we come back, we'll be getting into Womanpreneur. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.